Bonjour et bienvenue sur le site ChampagneJayne.com. G'day and welcome to another edition of ChampagneJayne TV. Today we're talking with Hubert de Billy, 5th generation of the Pol Roger family. Now Pol Roger was a house founded in 1849 in Epernay, and I suppose it's really best known as the most British of champagnes. Winston Churchill was famous for loving this house and drinking a pint of Pol Roger every day for his health. I think it was a jolly good idea. So please enjoy this tasting.
Bonjour and welcome to the house of Pol Roger. My name is Hubert de Billy. I am the commercial manager of Pol Roger and I represent the 5th generation of the family. Well, I'm here with ChampagneJayne, and what I propose to you is to have a nice time and a good tasting of our range. So let's start by the non-vintage, the Brut Reserve, which is also known as the white foil. So, Pol Roger is a family company based in Epernay, and our vineyard is around Epernay, on the White Coast, on the Montagne de Reims and the Marne Valley. It is why this non-vintage, Brut Reserve, is based of one third of each grapes. The Meunier brings the fruity aspect, the body aspect, what I will call the bones of the wine. It will give you the structure. It's a wine which has a minimum of 4 years of aging, which is one of the oldest non-vintage on the market, which give you a plenitude and a full body wine. The Pinot Noir has more fruity aspect, more red fruit, more structure with the time. And we bring a nice fruity aspect and good mouth with the backbones of the wine. The third of Chardonnay, coming from the White Coast, will give you the finesse, the nose, the flower, the green apple, the citrus aspect of the wine. It will give you the elegance, what I call also sometimes the makeup, but not the makeup to hide, the makeup to make even more beautiful and to raise the aspect of the Pinot Noir and the Meunier. With this kind of wine, you have a good wine for aperitif. It's a good wine which is well balanced for, I will say, anytime, anywhere, any place. During the meal, after, before, it's a quite polyvalent wine. Let's start to speak about the other wine that we have today. Blanc de Blanc, 2000, Vintage, 2000, Churchill, 99, Rosé, 2002. All these wines are more specific to a certain kind of time. We are going to speak now about the Blanc de Blanc 2000. Before to start the tasting, what I want to say also is it is with the non-vintage that you have to judge a champagne company. A champagne company which is able to produce a good non-vintage will obviously be able to produce very good vintages. The opposite is not obviously true, because sometimes some producer put so much energy and so much focus on the vintages that they forget the non-vintage and do what they can with what they have. At Pol Roger, we continue to produce very small quantity of vintages to be able to put some emphasis on the non-vintage. As we have a French expression, we doesn't like to take the clothes of the non-vintage to to wear the vintages. We love them to have all their particularities. Blanc de Blanc. Blanc de Blanc means white wine made with white grapes, at the opposite of Blanc de Noir. It's Chardonnay. Obviously, the only white grapes in Champagne, as you know, is Chardonnay, so it's a 100% Chardonnay. It's a wine full of elegance, finesse, acidity. It's a great wine for fish, for seafood, white meat. I would say more the aperitif aspect. It's a wine which is better right before. The acidity of the Chardonnay will sharpen your appetite and open your appetite. The acidity of the wine will open your mouth and will be able to taste all this very beautiful wine. 2000 is great to try to taste at the right at this present time. It's a vintage with a lot of fullness and which have the tendency to oxidize a bit fast. So be careful when you drink a 2000. At the present time is perfect. We don't know what will go after. Full, great flavor. A lot of citrus, a bit of green apple, white flowers. Really a very, very good drink for the aperitif. Let's go more for the meal, the vintage. The vintage, which is a 60% Pinot Noir and 40% Chardonnay. So more structure, more aging, better for the meal. It's a wine that you will be able to drink with white meat, with red meat, with more structure, with more meal aspect. Don't forget that that is what Churchill used to drink when he was alive. He was drinking bottle Imperial, to be exact, Imperial of vintage every meal, one for lunch, one for dinner. So it was a meal product. It is not what he was drinking in terms of purely wine, but the spirit of what he was drinking, in the way that our winemaking is a bit different nowadays. And it's why we have produced a Churchill, which is, in terms of taste, nearer from what he was used to drink. But if he was still alive, it is exactly what he will drink as a meal product. So the aging and the quantity of the Pinot Noir and the quality of the Pinot Noir. Don't forget that in the Blanc de Blanc, it's only Chardonnay coming from the White Coast and only Grand Cru. In the vintage, the Pinot and the Chardonnay are coming from Grand Cru and Premier Cru, and which give you the elegance, but also the body aspect. You have much more fruit aspect and good ripeness. It's full body wine. Churchill. You know Pol Roger about Churchill. If you are a Pol Roger lover, obviously you know all the story about Churchill and Pol Roger. To put you in the frame, don't forget that Churchill started to drink Pol Roger in 1906. As I said before, he was drinking only vintages. He drank Pol Roger all his time life, and with an average of 2, to be honest, imperial pint by day. An imperial pint was roughly 50 centiliters. He used to say that his wife Clementine, he used to say, when I open a half bottle, I am not happy. When I open a bottle, Clementine is not happy. So the imperial pint for 2 was the best size. But that was only in couple, because when he was outside, he was saying also that Magnum was the best size for 2 gentlemen, and it's even better when one of them doesn't drink. So that is a difference. And of course, in 1945, Churchill met my aunt, Tante Odette, and my Uncle Jacques, at the British Embassy in Paris. And from, I will say, a wine lover connection, even if he was buying a champagne like all the other customers in different wine merchants, he was, he started to have friendly connection with us. And so, the Churchill. Churchill is more in direction of what Churchill loved, full body wine, more aging, and so mostly roughly 10 years of aging. It's a 99. Its majority of Pinot Noir is not a Blanc de Noir, but not too far. The composition is a secret, not for the pleasure to have a secret, but mostly because the proportion of Chardonnay is different from one vintage to another, and that will change a bit compared to the quality of the Chardonnay and the quality of the Pinot Noir. We moved the level of Chardonnay. So some vintages are very big proportion of Pinot Noir, some are a bit lower. But anyway, the idea is always to produce a wine which will be great for the meal and a full body wine. I speak about wine. It is for us very important. The finesse, the body aspect, the fruity aspect of this wine is very important. It's a wine of Champagne. Oh, that's good. To finish, the Rosé. Rosé 2002. The peculiarity of the Rosé of Pol Roger, it's always a vintage. We don't produce Rosé non-vintage. The history of the vintage of the Rosé has been created in 1950 by my father, Winston de Billy. Dad at that time was in charge of the South American market, and Rosé was very popular in South America. So when my father was coming to each different countries, trips, he was asking my great-grandfather, Maurice Pol Roger, to create a Rosé. Don't forget that the aim of this generation, the First World War, the first half of the 20th century generation, was to produce the whitest champagne as possible. That it was the way to show to customer that the the producer was controlling the techniques and was able to produce a very good champagne. And for them, for this generation, to produce a rosé, so to accept to add a red wine to a wine that it was that the goal was to be the whitest as possible, was a crime. In terms of philosophy, it is exactly if you ask me to drink a Cair Royal today. I love the crème de cassis, I love champagne, but I must say that to mix both is a certain kind of crime. And for him to mix red wine with white wine was a crime. So after many demands, at the end he accepted, but he said to my father, okay, do it, but never ask me to drink it. And he died without drinking a rosé. So my father decided, my father knew how to make a rosé which will be a blockbuster, I will say. To make a rosé blockbuster, you need to be non-vintage, to have a specific bottle, and a light color. So Dad decided to do the opposite. He did a vintage with a classic bottle, with a quite strong color. It's a wine, it's a body rosé, it's a mild rosé. As you can see, the color is quite strong for rosé of Champagne. You have roughly 15% of red wine coming from Bouzy, but also come from Cumière. We do a blend of different red wine. Now, it's a wine which is great with red meat. It's also good with dessert. But dessert, be careful, not too sweet. It's a Brut, it's not a demi-sec. So you need to choose, but for example, you take a very simple strawberry tart, for example, without too much jelly, sweet jelly on the top, but very, very simple dessert. Only the patisserie and apple, only, and strawberry, excuse me. And that will be great. It's a very good. It goes also quite well with some cheese. If you take cheese from Champagne, for example, a very good cheese is Chalours, which is a creamy. If you find it, you must go to a specific cheese shop. It's not obvious, depending where you are. But if you find some Chalours, which is a creamy cheese, it will go very well. Yeah. Fruity body. It's also a great wine for the afternoon. Only one thing more. It is in terms of wine the same as a vintage. So the base is 40% Chardonnay, 60% Pinot Noir, plus roughly, depending on the vintage, 15% of red wine. So, thank you so much to visiting Champagne Jayne. Thank you to have spent some few minutes with me and to have be able to enjoy this moment of tasting. Cheers.